Today we're speedrunning through Superliminal, a game that might break your mind. Now we'll start the speedrun as soon as we go in the door. You'll see that there's actually an automatic timer in this game, which is really nice because I don't have to use any external programs, and it'll take out load screens, all the things like that, to just make sure we have a really good time. But now we can actually get onto the game, and as you can see, this is a pretty interesting one. This game is all about perspective, so we can change the size of objects by just moving them slightly. And we'll be doing that a lot. For this one, we actually don't have to change it because it's just big enough for us to make that jump. And you also see that weird optical illusion. Yeah, this game is really cool. It's going to get better as we go through it, and we're just going to be trying to go as fast as possible. And right here is where the game really starts to shine. We have this tiny piece of cheese, and we're going to use this door frame to let us resize it. We get most of the resizing done right there, and then we make it just a little bit bigger, so we're able to make it all the way up to the door and through this hallway. Next, we're going to see there's a big block. We can make it a bit shorter. We're also going to get this plank, which we can make really small and hit the button right over there. Then there's another block puzzle where what we want to do is keep getting farther away from it, so it's going to get smaller and it's going to fit through there. Now with this next one, there's going to be this block which we want to drop over here, which is going to hit a button on the other side so we can make it through that door. Because as you've probably noticed, you have to hit buttons to open doors, kind of, obviously. And we just got to figure out different ways to do that for this level. Like for right here, we're actually going to use this sign. If we go right up next to it and then put it over there, it's going to become gigantic, hit both of those buttons so both of the doors open, and that's going to be nice and easy. Now finally we're at the end where what we want to do is get this cheese block, and we're going to make it nice and big. Before we then drop it on ourselves, we jump and then we can hit that panel thing. That's going to open up, allow us to go into this hallway where we can see the exit. However, we're not going to exit because instead we're going to go jump right into this bed and end the first level. And the really cool thing about this game is it has awesome loading screens. I love these because they make loading just a lot better. But anyways, it's time for the second level. And for a lot of these levels, they're going to start out in this same sequence where we have to go through this hallway until we get to the different part. And for this one, the different part is going to be this red room. So we go through, we see an exit door where we just move it, which is pretty funny. Some more optical illusions as well, trying to tell us we can't go in these places, but we can. And once we make it over here, we're going to see this one sign where we're going to want to resize it a couple times so it becomes big. We can place it right here, and then we can go on it using its slant so we can go right over the wall. After that, we just want to jump up some boxes, and we're going the right way instead of the left so we can start walking in this direction. And after a bit, it's going to push us because that block is going to become formed. And we're going to be taking this block, doing some just different jumping. And here's a cool trick we're going to do. Basically, what we want to do here is jump, place, place. So that way it becomes big enough for us to jump with. Then we're going to want to take the block one more time with us, jump just the perfect amount of space. Before we get this door, we're going to have to line this up because the door was placed on two different things. So you have to find the right spot on the floor for you to line up and be able to use it. And we're going to be using that same strategy two more times right here. You'll see there's a block right here on the ceiling, which we can take after we line ourselves up. Then we can make the perfect jump to get that first try before moving the chess piece over, and this whole hallway opens up. Which, yeah, at this point, the level is pretty much done. Well, I guess we do have one more part, which is pretty cool. But for right now, we're just walking through it until we make it back into one of these red rooms, and we see there's going to be an open window where there's also going to be the moon, which we can take. And on the moon, there's going to be an exit door. So what we want to do is use this light to resize it. And you want to be very careful with this exit door because you don't want it to be too big and you don't want it to be too small. Right there, I put it a little bit too big, and that means we're going to have to walk a bit further. So we will lose like 5 seconds, but that doesn't really matter. And finally, we'll make it into the hallway. We see the Seize the Day poster, and finally, that's going to be level 2 done. Oh yeah, by the way, one thing you might have noticed is for all of these levels, I start out by moving backwards, and then I rotate my camera right away. You can actually kind of move at the end of the loading screen, so that just saves like a second if we do that every time. Now for this one, you'll see there's no more red room, or I guess that is red later, but it's a different place altogether. And for here, instead of worrying about whatever puzzle we have to do, instead I'm just gonna jump on this thing, and then we're gonna be able to make that jump. Okay, as I was saying, then we're gonna be able to make that jump right over there before we make it into this room, and it's just nice and simple. We get a block, and then we're gonna be able to go on that before we then have to get that block, which is actually connected to the floor weirdly enough. And now we're in the basement or something like that. This isn't creepy at all. Once we make it over here, these blocks are in the perfect positions for us to just make the jumps. We don't even have to worry about that. And here's another illusion where it looks like they're blocks, but they're really just on the floor. Then in this, we actually want to move these blocks over because they're whatever this, I have no idea who constructed this building. And here's where we do a cool trick where we want to grab this. And basically what we want to do is jump on it, and we barely missed it. That is a pretty hard trick, but thankfully it's very easy to do the backup, which is just to move it over and be fine. But anyways, we then get that block, it explodes so we can make it right over, and finally make it to the final part of the level where we just have to go inside of this block. I'm going to start holding backwards and jumping so we can make it right out of there once it collapses. And finally, all we have to do is walk backwards until we make it right back into the elevator and be done with the third level. So now in the fourth level, this is pretty much the horror game one. It's not really a horror game level, but it has some different elements like being very dark. There's going to be some blood everywhere. At least we're going to be making through it fast though, because we're speedrunning. And in this level, there's not actually anything chasing after you. It just gives you the illusion, you know, kind of what this entire game is about. And speaking of illusions, look at this. We're just going to keep going through. I do have my mouse in a very specific place because we want to grab something, move it out of the way so we won't have to do it later. But yeah, just pretty much walking through. Not too much to say about that. Before we make it into this hallway where we want to turn over to the left, just into the darkness, which is kind of terrifying. We see some boxes that say die it. Yeah, get it, diet soda. Anyway, so after that, we want to look down because there's going to be a hole in the ground, so we want to make it right over there. And thankfully I got that first try. I've messed that up so many times because it's just so easy to slightly miss the jump. Before we then go over here and we want to jump upstairs. I'm not sure if I said that before, but it makes us go a tiny bit faster, so it's always a good idea. And we're just going through the deep and creepy hallways. We're seeing more blood on the ground, or at least what we think is blood. And then I want to rotate backwards because what I can do is use the light to see where these stairs are and go right on them. Then after that, we'll continue walking through because we have to find a light. At this point, everything in the level is going to get really dark, so we want to get this exit light or whatever this is called. I don't even know what you call this sign, but we want some sort of light so we're actually going to be able to see. I did also resize it just to make it a bit bigger. That doesn't really matter, but it makes it a bit better, and we can just go through all of these different boxes, get rid of it so it doesn't allow us not to go through the doorway, and make it to this next section. Thankfully on this one, we actually don't have to pick up the light, which I guess it's not even thankfully. I mean, it really wouldn't have lost us any time or anything like that. But anyways, we don't have to do it. We can just jump right through, and we're finally at the end of the level. Here's where we see a lot more blood, but we're just not going to worry about it. We're going to go right through and finally see that the blood was actually red paint the entire time. Yep, it was just the illusion of a horror level. It was never actually one. So finally, we can make it back to the elevator, enjoy avocados, and be on our way. Now, level 5 is definitely one of my favorite levels in this game. It has some really cool things going for it, but of course, right at the beginning, all we're doing is walking through a hallway. After that, we're going to get this door, move it slightly over, and we're actually going to want to keep the door with us because we want to use this to then hit this button so we don't have to worry about it. After that, we can take some nice movement until we make it over here, and we'll see that we can actually duplicate things now. By just clicking the left mouse button, that is now going to duplicate objects instead of letting us pick them up. So like for this puzzle, I can duplicate that, move it over there, and then I can do another jump click to get another one of those and make it right into the door. After that, you'll see we have a smiley face on our screen instead of our normal cursor. It does go away right here, but I don't really know why they did that. And then we want to duplicate this apple and use the new one to hit the bigger apple out of the way and stop hitting the button. Then we'll make it into this big hallway where all we can really do is walk over until we make it to these stairs, jump up them, of course, so we can save a bit of time and line ourselves up in the perfect spot. So we just have to tap the apple once and make it through. Then at this point, some more stairs. I know this is exhilarating commentary. Until we get to this spot where we want to duplicate this sign a bunch of times so we're able to jump on top of it. And as soon as we make it over here, we want to return the stuff. We can do that by right clicking, and that makes all the stuff go back to its original spot, so it will no longer be in our way. And with that, that's pretty much the end of the level. All we have to do is walk over to the usual supply closet and make it over to our favorite elevator, which this time it's gonna say Phil's Friendly Family Produce. Gotta love apples. Now level 6 is also a really interesting one, and first of all, it's not going to be the normal entrance that we usually do. Instead, we want to walk backwards for a while until we make it over here and we see this brand new screen. Not sure why they decide for this one to make it different, but hey, might as well switch it up a little bit. I mean, after that though, it doesn't change. All we had to do is go out a slightly different entrance, and now we're in the exact same place. Before, of course, we get transported into a brand new place. And this time, it's going to be the dollhouse level, which for this, we want to use these dollhouses, resize them, and make them big enough for us to go into. So I want to make this just about my size, maybe a little bit bigger. And now we're inside this house that we just kind of create. Yeah, it's a very interesting and trippy level. Now, once I get over here, I want to make this house absolutely gigantic. This might not actually be enough size. I might have messed this up. Yep. Okay. That's fine. At the very least, it's only a little bit of a time loss. But yeah, I really want to make this big, and that should be big enough because the door we have to go through is going to be really small. For some reason, that resize always gets to me though. Anyways, we're going to keep walking through these doorways. See an old TV? That's not ominous at all. This game really likes tripping you out, but we're already out of the horror level. You need to stop it. Anyways, though, we're just going to be walking through. See that we have to take this left path until we find this fan, and we want to make it gigantic. So I can start resizing it by hitting it against the ceiling until it's big enough to push over this door, and that was not the greatest push in the world. Kind of in the worst spot, but at least it's only a little bit of a walk away. Did not want it to go that far back though. Anyways, now it's time to get this window, and we're going to use this light to resize it, and we want to make it just big enough for us to fit through. So I will try to go through this one. I think it might need to be a bit bigger. Come on, window. You got this. Just let me go through, please. You're losing my time. Come on, go. Okay. All right, one more resize. That should be good enough. There we go. It was not that hard. Anyways, we can make it through that window, which is going to put us into this weird yellow hallway, which is very creepy. But on the other side, that's when we're going to find a bouncy castle. And this one actually has a really consistent strategy where all we have to do is pick it up, drop it on us, and move backwards, and it will make it the perfect size to go right through. Then we want to use that exact same bouncy castle to go and move over to the top of this level. So, okay, I didn't resize it perfectly. I'll try that one more time by making it a little bit smaller, and we can go back through the same door that we came in, and now we're going to be over here, which lets us go right into this new hallway, and it's time for another door, which puts us into another weird room. Now for this one, we want to make this other doorway really small because we have to fit it inside that window. So once we do that, we can go right back through the doorway that we came through. And now we're at this gigantic level with a bunch of stuff all over the place. But we only have one more place we have to go, which is going to be this house. And I might resize that, but okay, maybe I should have just walked over. Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, resizing these doorways, especially when you don't have a light or anything like that, is sometimes really annoying. But this should be fine as long as I can get over there. All right, thankfully we got there. And now, of course, it's just time to make it back over to the elevator, which this time the poster is going to be a nice cat. Look at him. It's also a meeting for the Cardboard Lovers Association. I love the signs in this game. So next level, and this one is going to be another one where it's not the usual start. Now to make it through this level, we have to go through all of the dialogue. So in here, it actually makes sense to do dialogue skips. Now what I want to do right there is jump over the dialogue trigger. I did mess it up, but thankfully that one's not too crucial. It just saves a little bit of time, but the more important one is going to come with this can. So I want to keep resizing it, keep making it bigger as fast as I can. But I mean, to be fair, we do have a pretty good amount of time, but just as I'm moving, I want to resize it to make it big enough. It still needs to be a bit bigger because we want to make it up onto that light. I'm going to keep trying. Come on, please make the jump. And there we go. Now we can jump over the dialogue trigger. So there's no dialogue going on right now, which makes it so that once we get over here, all we have to do is go through the ending dialogue, and it's going to save like 15 seconds or something like that. So as soon as they say goodbye, we can start clicking, and we want to hit our alarm clock and start moving. Now this level is really weird because basically once you get far enough, it's going to take you back to the room. So for the first one, I'm going to make it over to the water cooler. It's going to move me right back. I'm going to start moving again, and this time we're going to the fire extinguisher, just waiting at this spot until we get teleported back, and then finally we're just gonna wait outside the door. Now at this point, once we hit the alarm clock, everything goes dark and our gravity has changed, or maybe not the gravity, more so just the entire room got flipped. So we go into a new room, hit a new alarm clock, and this time it's finally time to leave this really weird limbo we've been in, because we're going to use this painting, which is going to put us in an entirely new room, which how did I not get in there that time? Okay, just walk through the painting. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Anyways, now we're in some different rooms, and all we can really do at this point is just walk to the left over and over again and get our Dr. Glenn Pierce thing again. They really like saying this exact same thing. But anyways, we're going to walk through here until our gravity changes. We're going to have to move over using that. And the gravity change is one of the weirdest things when you're playing this casually. It is not fun to get your gravity randomly shifted on you, I'll tell you that. But when you're speedrunning and you already know what's going to happen, it's not too bad. Now we have a general path which we have to take. It's pretty simple. It's just memorize the exact same thing. Like right over here in this orange room, we want to go up this room a little bit, drop down until we can then find the stairs. And with these stairs, we want to drop them. So it's going to open that up for us and we can make it into the elevator. But the thing is, this is actually a fake elevator. You'll see because they don't have the poster thing. So it's going to tell us that this isn't an exit. And right here is a really interesting part. So there's going to be a sign which tells us which way to go. But before we go that way, we have to look the other way. So I'm going to look to the wrong way. It's going to show me all the stop signs and things like that. And then we can go to the right way. And we have to do that 5 total times until finally it lets us out. We're going to make it into this brand new room, which is a nice fake pool place. And we want to take this cube to help us platform. We also want to get onto this so we can then make it up with that jump. And okay, I thought I made that block a little bit too big, but it was actually the perfect size to make it right through. Then here we're going to want to use this fake chess piece, which turns into that. I don't even know how that happens, but we're not going to worry about it. And we'll make it straight through. There's going to be another drop. And at this point, things start getting really weird. As soon as we click that block, there was a screen transition. Then as soon as we click and let go of that block, there's another one. After that, we're going to start walking, drop down right here, another screen transition, and there's going to be one more screen transition as soon as we hit this alarm clock. Now for this part, we want to go right, right, left, right, left, right, right. I think I said that right. Anyways, after that, we're then going to get into this entirely weird section where basically what we want to do is see the ends of this room because it's not actually in the outside. Instead, we go to a very specific point before we start moving backwards. And once we move backwards long enough, there's going to be the room that appears and we can finally hit the alarm clock, which is going to put us in the final real level. Now for level 8, we start in a completely new place and we want to make our door big enough so we can fit through just like we've done a few times. And this time we're going to do a recursion thing or a paradox, whatever it's going to be called, where we put the same room in its door so it breaks everything. Yeah, that was probably the worst explanation I've ever said in my life. Anyways, all we can really do at this point is just wait for everything to go white. I'm going to be holding forward in this corner and kind of just doing nothing. The screen is going to go white. It's going to make us wait for a second, but eventually we'll start being able to see stuff. And here's where things get really trippy. I mean, right there, we got the not an exit, but I don't really have anywhere else to go. So we go straight to the not an exit. We're going to be taking a left path so we can drop down here as soon as possible. And pretty much there's going to be a bunch of darkness and we want to make it to the light. So I'll keep going from here. We can actually move over the darkness. So there's a hallway, which is weird. And we have another room where there's just a bunch of stuff going on. I don't even know how to commentate this. I'm going to be completely honest. But unfortunately, a lot of this level is just a walking simulator. But the good thing is it actually has some cool tricks right at the end. And I mean, it's just a cool level in general. I really like the aesthetic of it. Just like the rain coming down and also coming up. Like, this is just a cool level. But we just have to walk forward, hope that we'll get a fast time. Not much else I can say about it. And right here, we're going to drop down, make it into this weird file cabinet room where we want to come over into this direction, turn our camera and start moving to the left. So then we can see when this doorway is going to appear and going straight right there. It's also going to speed us up a little bit in this room, which is nice because I'm very tired of walking. And once we make it into this new room, we want to take the left path. I mean, you can take the right one. It doesn't really matter, but I take the left because that's how I learned, I guess. Anyways, we then want to take this panel thing. Yeah, on this level, everything's just messed up. It doesn't make sense at all. But we use this panel as a way to get up into that doorway, and we're finally near the end. At this point, there's just a bunch of walking we have to do. And the thing that I'm pointed at right now is going to be a light switch. So all I can do is just wait until we finally get close enough to actually hit the light switch, which then I have to start moving backwards. We'll see there's a stairway, which if we get onto the other side, we can actually go up the stairway, go through another path. And does this make sense? I don't even know if it makes sense to me right now. After that, we want to go into this direction where we don't want to take the regular doorways. We want to go into this doorway. And yeah, it's just going all over the place. The good thing about this level is it's very easy to memorize, but it's such a weird level. I guess this is just a weird game in general though, even though I love it. It's a really cool one. Now here's where we're going to do a cool trick. Basically, we want to make this chess piece really big. And normally you would have to take 2 chess pieces and use them to make it through this chessboard, because if we stand on any one of these spaces without a chess piece, then we're just going to fall right through it. But instead, what we can do is just jump, click, click, move it over with us, and we only have to use one of the pieces. Then I'll make it over here where we take this box, and to make it through this doorway, you have to place an object first to like prove that the room is actually there. So we can get another thing of cheese. This game really likes cheese, and we're going to be able to use that to be just the right size. Okay, I said just the right size. There we go, to make it up into this doorway, which now everything is really getting weird. See, at this point, we just want to make it downwards as fast as possible. So I'm going to try to take a good path where I'm not really getting stopped too much, just going right through until we make it over here. We can find a doorway, and now my bitrate is dead. And yeah, at this point, game just completely broken. Before we make it through that place, we turn backwards where we can move the panel, and finally we have made it to the end of the game, because all we can do at this point is now look up, see the alarm clock that we have seen so many times, and finally we get to hear the big dong. So that's going to end level 8. But we still have one more level. However, the thing about this level is it's not actually one. It ends as soon as we click on the timer, and you'll see with the in-game timer, that's our final time, 27:34, which is going to put us at 324th place, and I'm pretty happy with that. All right, subscribe if you enjoyed. Bye.